Hey everyone, welcome to Trap Chat Black History Month special edition, doing your thing while doing their thing. I am so excited to be joined by a dear brother of mine, a husband, a father, a photographer, lover of all the things that are positive. A
Yes,
DC native, University of Richmond grad, go Spiders. Proud member, as you can see, of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Fresh
indeed.
off a Jack and Jill shoot, I hear. My brother, Troy Stewart. Troy, tell everyone how you're doing today, who you are.
How am I doing today? I am moving 1,000 miles a minute in a 20-mile-per-hour body. How about that? That pretty much sums it up. I, like you said, am a Washingtonian, proud of it. Graduate of Archbishop Carroll High School in the district and graduate of the University of Richmond in Richmond, Virginia. Federal government employee by day, a self-proclaimed professional photographer by afternoon and evening, and then full-time husband and full-time dad all the other times, including those times as well.
Oh, and baseball lover.
And baseball lover, yeah, I
Yes,
do some
baseball
a
lover.
little bit of coaching, a little bit of umpiring, and a little bit of supporting of my oldest son. So
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of that going on here.
All right, so you touched on it just a bit. Please share your career journey from federal government IT professional to photographer to your various community service and faith based endeavors. So, like
Yes,
you said, all the time you're these things. By
right.
day you're this, in the evenings, on the weekends you're that.
Yeah,
How do you
yeah.
effectively balance doing your thing while doing their thing?
So I don't know if there is a balance. I'll be the first to say that there's always some portion of my life that gets neglected. It's just in the moment when that thing that's being neglected can afford to be neglected at that time. Family for me is first and foremost. It is the thing that all other things will have to take a backseat to
Yeah.
forever. It's just so that my kids are getting a little older now, so it gives me a little bit more wiggle room to do the things that I enjoy, and that ironically helps support the family. In addition to my career, so I am a 30, soon to be 32-year federal government employee. Yes, believe it or not, I started as a high school senior by
Really?
of Kappa Alpha Psi, who got me involved in a junior fellow program. So
That's
I worked the summer after I graduated. And
mhm.
then when I came home for Christmas break, spring break, summer break, I had a job waiting for me with EPA.
Oh.
And that was 1991. So this March, it'll be 33 years, if you can believe that, that I've been
Whoa.
employed with them. Yeah. So I literally, and they make fun of me all the time. I grew up at EPA, still with the same program office that I was with when I started. And
Shut your
yeah,
mouth.
and yeah,
In the same
and
building
it's
and everything, because I've been down to your job, kind of, sort of.
right. So ironically, with COVID, it's funny because as COVID approached, we were going through movement from Crystal City, which was where my office was based, to
Yeah.
DC. They're trying to
Okay.
consolidate everybody to DC. And then COVID hit. So we got all these
Mm.
buildings in DC that virtually are quote unquote empty because we are now a 1 day a week required
Okay.
on site, yeah, for work. So yeah,
So
it's
we
weird.
can maybe talk about the EPA another time. My pastor is
Yeah.
an attorney at the EPA and a member
Okay.
of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity
Hey,
Incorporated.
yo to your
Yeah.
pastor. Absolutely.
So the EPA is clearly doing right by the brothers. All right.
Yes,
But
yes,
we're
yes.
here. We're here to talk about your photography career. So
Absolutely.
you say that you transitioned from photographing family events to establishing what is now Troy Stewart Photography. What would you say
Yes.
were some of the biggest obstacles you faced, and then how did you overcome them?
For me, believe it or not, my biggest obstacle was wondering whether or not I was good enough, right? Because it started out as a hobby. I was the guy taking pictures at all the family events. Troy, go get your camera, take a picture of your grandmother, and and I did that. And then, believe it or not, and it's funny that you say that I say this because at some point in time, a woman comes into your life for us men and gives you that kick in the pants to step out on faith, to stop being just a hobbyist, quote
Yeah.
unquote, and take it to the next level. So I got married in 2000, and the wedding gift that my wife provided me with was my first real professional camera. And
Nice.
from that moment, it was pull it out every single chance I get, learn, get better, develop. I took a class, met a photographer here in DC by the name of Daryl Todd, who actually gave me a kick in the pants and said, "There's no way that you should be pulling your camera out and not getting paid for it, because your eye, your
Whoa.
technique, your style is that good." So between him,
Yeah.
my wife, and a good brother out of Atlanta by the name of Ross Knight, whose workshop I took, and he pretty much uttered the same thing. I'm like, well, if these guys are shooting and making money, and they both shoot like high end celebs, big time work
Hmm.
all over the globe. If they're telling me that this is what it is, then I need to take heed to it and do something with it. So yeah, so now I'm 20 years in shooting, and primarily portraits and sports and headshots, and
Yes,
the time to
headshots.
shoot weddings has not yet. Yes, headshots. The time to shoot weddings has not come my way, so I leave those to those young folks who have 8 hours, which I don't. And
Okay.
it's been good. It's been really good. It's been really good, Kirsten. So I enjoy it. I do.
That's a great transition, because you describe yourself in your bio, and very accurately, I might say so, as an easygoing guy who believes that there is true beauty in every single creature on earth.
Absolutely.
How do you approach capturing the beauty of each subject, whether it's through portraiture, event photography, sports photography, and as you said, career headshots?
Yeah.
Yeah, how
So
everyone.
so so for me, first and foremost, I want the person on the other side of my camera to feel comfortable. Because if there's a level of discomfort because of body image, because of makeup is not as flawless as I'd like it to be, because my hair is
Mhm.
not doing what we have to connect with the person that they are and make them feel comfortable, because the images don't lie. If you are not feeling comfortable when you're being shot, you're not going to feel comfortable when you look at your images. So for me, it's a quick 30-second conversation. How are you feeling? What are the things that you don't like? And let's stay away from those so the images don't reflect it. So it's all about comfortability for me. If I can
Yeah.
make that person feel comfortable, then 9 times out of 10, we're going to have a good session and they're going to be pleased.
And he's again, he's telling the truth. We shot in a noisy Starbucks
We
in the
did.
middle of the work day.
We
Um,
did.
when I tell you that, the brothers come through for the sisters, they truly do. I had to submit professional photos, not
Yes.
headshots, like what
That's
they
it.
call them, action shots,
That's
for a
right.
newspaper article, and I was like, "Where am I gonna get that?"
You killed it. You killed it. I
Thank you.
still
And
remember you
brought
killed
and
it.
brought the models and everything. Like, you brought the
Yes.
model with you and
Yes.
everything. Like, man,
Yes.
I can't.
Absolutely.
Whew, can't thank you enough. And then, you did a headshot. You did some headshots at an event,
Yes.
that Trap Recruiter, and I think Girlfriends in the Burbs had done,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
at a local community college. And
That's right.
you did the headshots, and my hair was all wild, and transparently, I was going through that day. I had, I was going through a rolling, what they call a rolling panic attack.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my homegirl Tasha was there. She was putting anointing oil on me. I was mainlined in lavender, and somehow you made me look nice, even though I wasn't feeling so good. So, if anybody in the DC area, and beyond, is looking for some headshots,
Hey,
make sure to contact Troy, because he
hey, I'm
will.
your guy. That's right. That's right.
Absolutely.
All it is, the biggest thing is just because typically there's a level of apprehension with just
Hmm.
about every client. Nobody spends the time that we spend behind the camera in front of the camera. So there's always some level of, am I going to look? Is this going to happen? And so it's just a matter of, taking a few, showing them how they look, and then they see it and they're like, oh, okay. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. And it never is. It's always great. I
Yeah.
shot 16 and 17-year-olds today. And every single girl was like, but I've got a thing here and in my hair. I'm like, just breathe, relax. Took two
Oh,
images, showed them the back of the camera, and it was like, oh, I was like, see, light is
nice.
wonderful. As long as you point it in the right direction, you're good. And that's what we were. So,
Light is wonderful as long as
yes,
you
it
point it
is.
in the right direction.
As
I
long as
like
you
that.
point it in the right direction. That's right.
So let's move just a little bit further in. In what ways, if any, does storytelling influence your work as a photographer, particularly when you're taking portraits and doing like you just did these event photos?
Yeah. So ironically, people don't understand this, but photography and videography are entirely different, right? Videography, you can have music, you can have voiceovers. So a story can actually be told with words, with video. Photography, you don't have that luxury. You've got to be able to see an image and be able to get the story from what your eyes are seeing. So, in essence, what I'm hoping to do is to allow the image, whether it's one image that's a headshot or a slew of images from an event, to tell the story of what took place for the person that wasn't there to witness it. And it's not as difficult as some people think it is. With wardrobe and with staging and with the ambiance of where you're shooting, a story can just about always be told as long as you allow the person that's behind the camera to reflect that story. And that's what it's all about. Is it a solid move where most of the facial expressions are stoic or even frowning, or is it a happy occasion where every single image is a smile? These 16 and 17-year-olds today, they don't want to smile. I'm like, we're taking
Really?
pictures for your conference.
What
Do
they
you want a
doing? The
lot of
duck
people?
face?
Yeah, like, like
That's my niece in
that's
every picture. She could be
that's
in
right.
the middle of
That's
a
right.
laugh, and if you're like, "Hey," she's like,
Right, exactly.
every
Putting
picture.
up fingers, like, that's kind of not what we're going for right now. So
Right.
it's all about what the product is. If we're trying to get something, we just want to make sure that that's what we put into what we're trying to deliver. So that's the hardest part. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
staying there because community seems to be an important aspect of your journey. How do you incorporate the idea of community into your photography business?
So believe it or not, I think community extends not just where you are, but where you're inviting people from into your community, right? So it's not just mine, it's also the community of the people that I'm shooting. And I'm a big proponent that we get a whole lot more done working together than we do working in a vacuum or in a silo. So I'm all about collaborating with either other photographers. My son, believe it or not, just picked up his first camera. And Kirsten, when I tell you that this kid is going nuts about the idea of, now he's not very good yet and he's shooting on auto, but that's how we start, right? We start from someplace. And just to see the excitement in his eyes with his new, and it's my very first, no, second camera, Canon 5D, and to let him tell it, it's a brand new camera that he deserves and that he is going to work as best as he can. And
Oh,
that's what I think. It's
wow.
it's always about trying to incorporate someone, make them feel good about themselves, so that going forward they can do the same thing with someone else. Right?
Yeah.
That's if we had more of that in this wonderful world of ours, I think that we'd see a lot less footage on the 6 o'clock news. And I just that's what community is to me, trying to make not only your space better but the space of others better, and keeping that proliferate on into the next generation of folks.
Well, shout out to your son. I'm looking forward to seeing some of his photos
I'm scared
very
to death.
soon. You're
Scared to
scared?
death. I'm scared to death. Yes. It's funny being a parent because you want the best for everything that your child does. And the second that they take on something new, the excitement is wonderful at the beginning, but then they experience some challenges because they're not good. So there's a learning curve. And I'm hoping for, and he's going through that with baseball right now. I'm hoping
Mm,
that being able to, quell his emotions when things don't
yeah.
go great. Because there's going to be a time when they're not going to go great, right? It's how
Hmm.
you recover from that moment when it's tough. And as a parent, you try to protect them from ever having to go through that. And I know full well I can't do it. My parents couldn't do it to me, so I can't do it
Yeah.
to him. But it doesn't stop me from trying.
but he definitely has you as an example, because even you
He
said
does.
that, you said that you were like apprehensive, like, am I good enough? So,
Right.
perhaps sharing your journey and how you got there. Speaking of, you did mention shift early in our conversation from seeing photography
Yes.
as a hobby to seeing it as a business. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Again, not only for your son, but for
Yeah.
anybody
Yeah.
else who's looking to transition.
Absolutely. And it's funny because it didn't really hit me, although my wife had mentioned it, but it didn't really hit me until I became a parent, right?
Okay.
Because so much of my time is catered to and dedicated to them. So if someone says, "Hey, Troy, can you come and shoot this event for me?" And I was be fully honest, I was doing it for free. I wasn't a professional. I didn't think I was good enough to title myself as a professional. Yeah, I'll shoot your event, no problem. Go shoot the event, hand over the images, walk away, not a dime. And then I thought about it. Well, my son has a game, or he has practice, or he has something. And if you're taking me away from my family, right? In some way, shape, or form, I should be compensated for that. I shouldn't allow them to not only not have me present, but then to also not have some benefit of me not being present. So as difficult as it was, I started to charge. And believe it or not,
Good.
there was no, blowback from the people that really wanted me to shoot their events about me
Hmm.
charging. They were like, "Well,
Yeah.
we were wondering, when you were going to start invoicing." I'm like, "Well, why didn't you tell me that
Well, why
2
didn't
years
they
ago?
just
I
at
would
least give you
have."
what they call it in church, a love offering, give you a couple
And some
dollars?
did.
Come,
Most
okay,
did. Most
okay,
did. Most
good,
would.
good,
Most
good.
would. And to this day, they are still. And it's funny. One young lady who actually is your soror, I
Oh,
shoot her and her daughter. And when I would invoice her, she's like, "This is not enough. You
I
need to
love
charge
it.
me more."
I love it.
I'm like, "Shannon, what are you talking? Charge me more. Charge me more. I
I
don't want
love
the
that.
neighborhood discount. I feel flattered that you want to give it to me, but I want you to charge me like you would charge the next." And it's been remarkable. People like that have given me confidence to say, "All right, here's what I'm worth. I need a website. I need to do this, and these things are
Hmm.
not going to come out of my pocket as a part of the business. It's going
Yeah,
to be paid for by the clients." So slowly but surely, it took me 15 years to figure that out, but it's better late than never, right?
yeah.
So
So
yeah.
that's a great segue to my next question. Again, you mentioned attending the Rose Night
Yes.
workshop and classes. I think it's down in Atlanta.
Hmm.
How did attending, an event hosted by someone like that shape your approach to photography and business?
Yes. So it was huge because I hadn't seen a format of what that looked like. So you may remember, but this was 2000, and I want to say 6 or 7. But there was a viral video, and I think it was titled something like "Putting on the Ritz." And there was a young black couple who rented a hotel down in Atlanta, and the young man was proposing to his girlfriend, and he had this hotel laced with candles and rose petals and all of this stuff. And so
Yeah, I
Ross shot it.
remember.
Ross shot it, and my wife Demetra saw it, and she
Okay.
was the one that actually booked me to go to his workshop. You know, came to me one day and said, "Hey, you're going to Atlanta. Why am I going to Atlanta?" She said,
You
"Because
thought
I
it was
booked
Freaknik?
as a gift." Right, exactly, yeah, right. Exactly. She said, "As a gift to you, I purchased a spot in
I
Ross
love it.
Oscar Knight's workshop." And when I tell you, Kirsten, that it changed my life, it was a weekend workshop. And he went through every aspect from picking up a camera to what these buttons do to, all right, now you're advanced to the point where you want to start booking clients. And these are the
Mm,
parameters of contracts. These are the parameters of how you charge. This is everything that you need. And he did it in a weekend. It was 12 of us. He took us through
oh,
Atlanta and we shot in different venues in
that's
Buckhead.
great.
And it changed my life. It really did. And
Yes.
it let me know that photography is not just an art where people take pictures and then you see what they look like. There's also some level of business that you have to apply to it if you
Mm-hmm.
want it to not drive you into the ground, because it's an
Yeah.
expensive deal. It is, with all of the equipment, it's not cheap. So
Right.
to do it for free was, and he said to me, he's like, "You're crazy. There's no way." And I said, "You're right, Ross.
But
You're
we never
absolutely
want to
right."
hear that. We
That's
never
right.
want to hear.
That's right.
I heard,
That's right.
listen, I've heard it too. Like, are you
Yeah.
nuts? You charge how
Yeah.
much?
Absolutely. And again, this was when before we had kids. This
Yeah.
is 2 years before my first son was born. And
Okay.
so it was easy for me to, give away time here and there. My wife was, in law school. So there was a lot of free time for me. So
Yeah.
it was nothing to go and shoot for free. And until I met him, he's like, "Yeah, we're not doing that ever again." So yeah, so that
I
was
love
huge.
that.
That was really huge.
And I
Yeah,
love the way that your wife continues to pour into you. I
absolutely.
saw something in you even when you didn't. Shout out to you, Demetra, uh, and to
She
your
just wants me
son.
to bring more money into the house.
Don't
It's not,
do that.
it's
Don't
okay.
do
I
that.
shouldn't have said that. Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm not even gonna let you do. I'm
Hey,
not gonna
we
let
got to
you do that.
continue to reinvent ourselves to make sure the keys work every time we come home, right?
There you
So
go. There you
bringing a
go.
little bit of more money in the house doesn't hurt.
And there you go. There you go. There you go. So, if you want to, one last piece of advice, because you did give some already, to
Okay,
any aspiring photographers who are looking to
right,
make a similar transition from
sure.
hobbyist to professional.
Um, Two pieces, and the same things that were taught to me. First and foremost, you have to get to know the craft, right? You have to spend some time, be it reading a book or two, taking a class, just so you can, because there's so many photographers out here now. People are doing professional photography with
Are they
iPhones today.
photographers or are they taking
Yes.
pictures?
Well, believe it or not, because the equipment is so good, they're probably just taking
Oh,
pictures, but the pictures look
gotcha.
wonderful. They're shooting movies on
Yeah.
iPhones now. That's crazy.
Listen, I sat next to
That's
a
crazy.
gentleman. I sat next
Yes.
to a gentleman on a plane ride who set up a GoPro to do the takeoff and landing, and I was like,
Yes.
"I don't want to be in your video,
Yes.
sir," because I was in the window seat.
Absolutely.
He was in the middle. I was like,
Oh, and he was shooting across. Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, shooting across." I was like,
Right. That's
this
not
is
cool.
weird.
That's
Like,
right.
this is
That's right.
weird."
And
And then,
unless you're
yeah,
gonna credit me in the documentation of this, and I'm gonna get a little piece, then you need to shut that down for sure.
yeah.
But yeah, so that first piece is, educate yourself, because,
Okay.
you're not only competing with yourself, but you're competing with thousands of others who are out here trying to do some of the same stuff. Um, and then the other piece is, it's not about the gear. So many photographers think that you have to
Mm.
have the latest and the greatest camera, the latest and the greatest lenses. When I take a picture with, and I know this is going to be a little bit of jargon, but if I take a picture with a Canon R6 and then a Canon Rebel 2000 and put the two images together, especially if I know what I'm doing, you're not
Ah,
going to be able to tell me in most cases which
which one?
image was shot on which camera. So spending $5,000 for a camera when I can spend 1,500, and yeah, there'll be some limitations,
They cost
but
that much.
they do, and some more.
Wow.
Yes, they do. But again, you got to know where you are. If I'm making $100,000 a year on photography, then I
Mhm.
can afford to spend $5,000 on a camera. But
Truly.
most
Yeah.
of us who are just starting out start out with a used camera. Start out with a camera that fits in your budget, because you don't want to go into debt starting a hobby that, either one, you may not like in 5 years, or two, you may not be making that money back to pay off the debt that you've just accumulated. So that's kind of what I'm trying to teach my son, and he's
Nice.
understanding because it's coming from dad. So, you
Okay.
know, hopefully everyone else has that luxury as well.
No, I think that was great advice.
Yeah.
I've learned so much. I don't know what a Canon R something and a two
R5,
thousand,
R6, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
2000, not
Right.
cash money taken over for the 99. I don't know what that is. But it sound,
Oh
but I
man.
believe you, and it sounds real good. No,
Yes,
I
yes,
truly have learned so much, and I appreciate you taking the time to give us some photography lessons. So
yes,
many
man.
of us think that like I said, I'm taking selfies, uh, figuring out some things. I even have little stands and everything now.
Everybody's a photographer, Kirsten. They are.
Truly, I am not. I take the
Yes.
worst photos. I am, and I don't mean that. I mean like I take them. Like I just don't photograph well, and I'm one of those people. I think. Yeah, that's my story. I'm
Hmm.
sticking to it. But
Yeah, I
now it's
heard that
time.
before. I heard
Yeah,
that before.
it's
Okay.
true. Now it's time for the
Hmm.
rapid fire.
Uh-oh.
Black History Month rapid fire.
Okay.
All right. So you grew up in Chocolate City,
Yes.
which is kind of mocha right now.
Yes. Yes, it
Uh,
is.
so how did growing up in DC shape your understanding and appreciation of Black history and culture?
You know what? It's interesting because until I went to the University of Richmond, believe it or not, I knew one white person. I knew one. I had one. I take that back, two, but I had one. And you always hear people say, "I've got that one white friend." But no, in high school, I had my high school was 99.99999% Black, and
Whoa.
yeah. So being in the city, I especially during the '80s, I won't say '70s because I was so young, but in the '80s and early '90s, it was truly Chocolate City. There was Blackness everywhere. And
Mhm.
I was raised by two school teachers, one a high school teacher, my dad, and then one a elementary school teacher, my mom. And education was always at the forefront
Yeah.
of everything that they talked about. Both retired 40 plus years in the school system. So being in this area was, historical in that there's so many creations and inventions of Black Americans in this city. And everywhere you go, you're always seeing something, whether it's the Banneker's or, the street lights or the way in which the streets intersect and are named. There was always something, a lesson to be learned in this city. Um, and I think that we've had, a very fortunate experience being able in DC, Maryland, and Virginia extended because they're all so close, especially around the Beltway, that
Mhm.
we get to experience that and see that. Now it's a little different now, a little different, but the history is still here.
Yeah.
And I think it's important and incumbent upon those of us that navigated these waters during that time when it was quote unquote Chocolate City to express it because my son doesn't know Chocolate City the way that I know Chocolate City. But to see the images, to hear about,
Cafe Ole.
right, yeah, exactly. Exactly. But to hear like how they used to have, Sunday basketball tournaments in Barry Farms. It's
Yeah.
like, Dad, Barry Farms, we don't want to go over there. It's like, son, understand. Okay, it's Barry Farms, but it's Barry Farms. It's historical. There was a lot that went on from softball back in the '70s where they used to
Mm.
play, grown up men's league, fast pitch softball. There was so much history
Wow.
in this city that I think is being lost now. So it shaped me tremendously just because, going any place else, although we want our kids to, spread their wings and fly, there was so much here that I only wanted to leave for 2 hours to go away to school. I couldn't go past 2 hours. So Richmond fit that and it was perfect because
And
I
you can
just
come back
love
for the go-go.
and I and I could come back for the go-go. Look, you are wonderful.
I
You're absolutely
listen,
right.
you know that I'm a character.
Yes, you are.
If
You
nothing
are.
else, I'm a character.
Absolutely. Yes,
So
ma'am.
let's move on to the next question.
Okay.
What Black historical figure gives you a glimpse of yourself? Chuck Brown. Sorry.
Oh man. I know, right? Believe it or not, and this is gonna seem really weird, but Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou, because you know, the funny thing for me is people always, especially growing up, teased me because of the way that I spoke. You're not from DC. You don't talk like you from DC. You don't say Joan. You don't say Merle. Because I was the product of school teachers, because
Yeah.
I liked to read, because I felt that being able to express myself and have people understand what it was that I was saying resonated with me. So
Okay.
when I was at the University of Richmond, Maya Angelou actually visited the University of Richmond and did a reading in the Robbins Center.
Oh.
And she did excerpts from the book, her Cage Bird book.
I know what
And
you're saying
I know
too.
why. And just to listen to her so eloquently deliver words is
Mm.
something that always resonated with me. Even so much so that my 17-year-old son will walk around and I'll call his name and he'll say, huh? And I'll look at him and he'll say, yes, because there's power in words. And if we express ourselves in such a way that people look at us like we don't know, 1 + 1 = 2, then that's the type of treatment we're going to get. So she's always been a favorite of mine. And, small, deviation from that, on Tuesday, believe it or not, I am shooting Nikki Giovanni. She is doing a piece at a local area DC high school, and they hired me to come and shoot it. And when I tell you that I am going nuts right now, and it's all because
Can
Daryl
I get
Todd.
your camera bag?
I know, right? Because Daryl Todd, Ross Knight, and Demetrius Stewart said to me, "You need to be doing more with this gift of photography." And I got the email
Wow.
on Friday, and they were like, "You think you could come Tuesday and shoot Nikki Giovanni? Can
Oh
I
my
come?
gosh.
Can I come?" Oh, so yes. So
That's
Maya Angelou,
amazing.
yeah,
That's
Maya
amazing.
Angelou,
And we gotta
yes.
make sure we look out for those photos when you are
Oh
able to
man,
publish them
I
on the
can't wait.
interwebs. And make
Yes,
sure you get a
ma'am.
picture with her.
I will. You know it. I
Yeah.
will, without a doubt, for sure.
All right. So, is there a lesser known historical or contemporary Black leader who inspires you and we should learn more about, besides including your dad and Chuck Brown?
Yeah, boy, they both do inspire me tremendously.
Okay.
I've, and this is gonna sound weird too, but I don't know if I can say this, but believe it or
You
not,
can say.
when I was young, Bill Cosby was my hero.
I'm
He
sitting here in a
was,
Bill Cosby sweater, so
look,
or a Cliff Huxtable sweater, so you could say it.
yes, he was that guy that was just who you looked up to. You wanted a dad like that, a dad that
Mhm.
had, a stern message, but also had a sense of humor. And I bought his out. It's so funny. I bought my parents his comedic stand-up albums. Yes,
Okay.
albums like you put on a record player and put the needle on. That's what it was back then. And I bought them for them, but I kept them for me because I just love
Mm,
to listen to him talk about chocolate cake and Buck Buck with Fat Albert. And he was just the guy that I really, really looked up to
yeah.
tremendously. Yeah,
That's one
absolutely.
I struggle with, you
Me
know.
too.
And when
Yeah,
people say you can't separate the art from the artist, I'm like, can
right,
we have that one? Like,
right.
because I don't think people know what that meant to our generation,
Absolutely,
us, us,
absolutely.
us Xers with boomer parents, I'm going to
Yes,
say.
you're right. You're
Yeah.
right. And then I'll throw this one out at you, and this may be weird too, because he's a little bit younger than me, but he's a wonderful friend of mine.
Okay.
There's an R&B singer who is from New Jersey and actually went to Howard University by the name of Eric Roberson.
Yeah. I was like, I think
And
I know who you're talking about.
I had the opportunity to meet him back in 90. Whew, I graduated in 94. I think I met Eric in 95, 96.
Okay.
And we have become great friends. And
Nice.
to listen to him, and he's another guy that's about, process over product, who's about building the community, who's about, not being so self-indulgent that the person that's next to you is having a horrible day and you turn your back on them because you're so much into yourself. So
Okay.
he is a guy that, and a family man, and he's a guy that I am crazy about, and I look up to him a little bit as well, for sure.
Shout out to Eric Roberson. If y'all don't know who he
Yes.
is, so this might be an opportunity for you to mention him again.
Oh my
Are there any
gosh, yes,
books, films, artworks, etc., related to Black
yes.
history you recommend for anyone seeking a deeper understanding of Black history?
So believe it or not, and it's just so weird. I am reading Stephen A. Smith's autobiography right now.
Really?
I am, and it's so funny because I watch First Take every morning, and my wife screams about how obnoxious he is sometimes because he's so loud and boisterous. But his story. right? His story of being an up and coming journalist who got fired from ESPN only to
I
be
didn't
brought
know
back.
that.
Yeah, only to be brought back. And, it's sometimes we get caught up in all of the outside stuff that we never allow ourselves to experience what is really inside. And reading his book has shed a lot of light. I'm still doing it. It's not done yet. I'm not done yet, but has
Okay.
shed a lot of light on him as a person and how we perceive ourselves in those moments when we get knocked down. Do you
Mm.
rise up and take a step forward and keep moving, or do you just give up and say, hey, the jig is up and I'm done and they won,
It
you know?
depends. Sometimes I
Yeah.
lay down and take a nap first.
Yeah.
I'm
Hey,
already down there, so I might as well
nap,
take a nap. When I get up, though,
the
watch out.
naps are important. Naps are very important these days.
So, because you have children who have grown up with knowing nothing but the
Yes.
the internet and social media. How do you think social media has influenced the documentation and the dissemination of Black history and culture?
Um, it's a good question. My fortunately, and I say fortunately because you and I didn't have that experience, but my wife is an alum of Howard University. So
Okay.
she is HBCU from the top to the bottom. And she
Yeah.
is, I don't want to say pushing that on my son, but she is exposing him to that
Mm.
world, right?
Okay.
That I didn't have the pleasure of experiencing. So in terms of social media, these kids all come out now with cell phones attached to their hands and their ears.
Yeah.
Um, and it was one of those things that we fought tooth and nail to get our son a phone because we were worried about that. We were worried about the Snapchats and who's going to have exposure to him and,
Mm.
if it's going to be positive or negative. And,
Okay.
and surprisingly, it's been very positive. They have information at their fingertips that we never
Yeah.
did. I
True
think
story.
my first flip phone from Sprint, you had to hit the 5 18 times to get to the L.
Oh, texting was not. No, no, no. You weren't texting.
No,
We were
you
texting in code. That's
that's right.
why.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to let him know. You got to use these powers for good
Yeah.
because there's so much negativity out in the world that if you type the wrong thing or hit the wrong button, it could impact you, and what you want to do going forward. I think it was Herman Edwards, who's a ESPN person and a former football coach. He said,
Mm.
just don't hit send. A lot of these NFL and NBA players are on Twitter or X now, and they're typing stuff out of frustration and hitting send. You can't take that stuff back. So you got to be real careful about what you put out because it's always going to be there in some way, shape, or form. And fortunately, my youngest hasn't really gotten into that world yet, but my oldest um, is doing okay with it. He's working on they have teen conference coming up in Boston with our local Jack and Jill chapter, and
Okay.
they're doing this um, um, project of all of the teens. And I was with them today as they were putting together the banners. I mean, it is just incredible the amount of information that they're getting at 16 years old, where all I wanted to do was get my license and drive, right? And these kids are putting in there, and I will give a little bit of a shout out to them. They are the reigning chapter of the year from last year for Jack and Jill. So they're really trying to, hold on to that position in
Mm.
this year's conference. So yeah, so they're doing a phenomenal job. I don't want to say what their theme is, but it has to do with Black history and it has to
Okay.
do with, fortifying the Black experience. And I'm so proud of them for doing that.
Good
So
luck to them.
yes,
I
yes,
hope that they win again.
I do too.
My next question is about preserving Black history beyond February.
Okay.
And I will say that I am in my, as I've gotten older, when I was 20 something coming out of Richmond,
Yes.
having a different experience coming, I was like, the petite bourgeoisie, was my enemy.
Right.
and as I am the petite bourgeoisie having gone to Richmond. But yes, I was a self-proclaimed pro-Black nationalist. But I will say, as I've gotten older and as my nieces and nephews have, matured, some of them are grown already. And I'm just thinking about, and then my friends who have children, my cousins who have children, I'm like, you know what? I was like, if it wasn't for organizations like Jack and Jill, honestly, we could say a lot about, the leaders or whatever you want to say, but if it wasn't for organizations like Jack and Jill, a lot of some of those, what they say, the recipes being lost, like they'd be lost forever.
They'd be lost forever.
Our generation didn't do a good job. Sorry, y'all, we didn't do a good job for the most part.
You're right.
But to you, how should individuals and communities actively participate in honoring and preserving Black history beyond the month of February? And this is for anybody, not just us.
Absolutely. So, and I wish I knew who it was that said it, but you've heard the slogan: if you don't know where you're coming from, there's no way that you know where you're going, right? And so many of us, and I'll say us because I was in that group as well, we think that it's all about us, right? It's me, it's what I've done, it's what I'm doing, it's how smart I am or how good looking I am. No, it has absolutely nothing to do with that. It's all about those that came before us and what they've enabled us and blessed us with the opportunity to do, and I think it's incumbent, and like you said, it's not just African Americans, because all of us have come from someone and something, but I'm only concerned about us. And I'll say that in full transparency, because I'm trying to raise 2 little Black boys, right? And we are living in a climate where it's not always safe for them. So it's important for we took our boys to see The Color Purple, the new
the new one, the musical, the adaptation of the stage play.
Absolutely. And it was important because, my oldest son, Dylan, thinks that, you can walk outside and the sky's always going to be blue and the flowers are always going to bloom. And I'm glad that he has that perception. It's the glass is half full, right? But he also needs to know that not everybody has had our best interests at heart throughout history. And at some point in time, unfortunately, more than likely, you're going to come in contact with people who think and feel that way. So how are you going to move, right? Are you going to cry because not everybody likes you because you're a little Black boy? Or are you going to bow out your chest and walk out on faith and revert back to the ancestors who you've heard a lot about persevering through a whole lot worse, right? Because, your iPhone going out because you didn't charge it the night before is not an issue, right? Knowing whether or not you're going to be allowed to go to the restroom or to drink from a water fountain, that's an issue. That's an issue. So, he had the opportunity to see that wonderful American, the Smithsonian, the Museum of African American History and Culture. And when we walked into the basement, Kirsten,
I don't like that part.
I agree with you, but it was important for him to understand that there was a time in history where we were thought of as not people, right? And it shook him. He's like, Dad, there's no way that people were being treated this way. Yeah, man. Yes, there was. And it, as disappointing as I was for him to have to experience that, and I'm getting choked up as we talk about it, but it was important for me to know that he knew that he's worth it, right? He's worth it. So regardless of what other people think about you, know that your mother, myself, and our family believe in you and whatever it is that you want to do, strictly because you're a human and more importantly, because you're a Black man. So that's the standpoint that we try to operate from.
No, you listen. You have been dropping gems the whole thing, but that was the benediction, baby. I need to get my offering together. I got my tambourine.
You need to stop it. Stop. I can't take credit for it. I'm just a simple-minded former athlete. My wife gets all the
Oh,
credit.
stop.
She gets
Oh
all
my
the credit.
gosh. All right. So, okay. The segue to my next question, which is
Yes, ma'am.
the standard rapid fire for Trap Chat.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
an additional, including, because your photographs will be. But if you wrote a book describing your career so far, what would the
Ooh.
title be? This is your contribution to Black history.
Ooh, what would the title be?
Yeah.
Mm. So for me, it would be The Art of Pivoting and Moving Forward. That would be my title. That
Okay.
because I've done, yeah, I'm 51, but I've done so many different things that haven't been conventional, right?
Okay.
You go to school, you get a degree in this, and then you graduate and you don't work in that field. I've never worked in the field. Well, I take that back, for about a year. But it's just find what you love, learn about it, and do it because you only get one life, right? We only get one. And to live it in misery or in frustration or in regret or I wish I would have, nah, just move, pivot, and keep on moving. That's it.
Okay.
That's
So,
my book.
all right. So we can expect this um,
Yeah.
fourth quarter 2025
As long
or
as you can get an eighth day of every week added to the calendar, I got you. I got
okay.
you.
Listen, I will listen. I I can get some. I can get some up to get something to come down now.
There
Don't.
you go.
Okay.
There you go. All right.
All right. We gonna see. I'm gonna check back with you because this is how I set up all of my guests. I got so
Oh,
many books coming out of Trap Chat. I'm gonna be writing a lot of forewords here
I'm
in the coming
sure.
years. Uh,
Only you would. I'm
yes,
sure.
I surely will. And then one day somebody gonna tap me on my shoulder and say, "Well, where is yours, ma'am?"
Uh-oh. There you
Yeah,
go. There you go.
we'll see.
And speaking of, where is yours? What would the title of your book be?
Um, I, yeah.
Yeah.
Confession. It would be Confessions of a Trap Recruiter.
Ah, okay. All right.
Telling
On
telling the
stands
truth.
coming, telling the truth. And
Telling
that's with
the
two O's, right?
truth. Both of them.
Trooth. There
Both
you
of
both
them.
of them. That's awesome.
I
I
know
love it.
I know I've been harping on go-go music a lot for you, but
Hmm.
that's just because I'm being biased towards DC. But what
Understood.
is your go-to
Mm.
songs, music genre when you want to hype yourself
Mm.
up to conquer the day?
God, dog. It almost seems like I am trying to uh set myself up for some type of special prize for my wife. But look,
Okay.
I got turned on to an artist by the name of Rasan Patterson
Hmm.
on a drive to West Virginia, my wife and I, to visit her younger sister.
Okay.
And when I tell you that listening to that man sing is just incredible. He's got a song, and I'm still trying to figure out the meaning of this song because it's so cryptic, but it's called Friend of Mine.
Okay.
And just to listen to him bellow in what appears to be the amount of pain and frustration that he experienced while writing and performing that song. He is by far one of my favorite artists. He
Okay.
by far. I mean, just the range, the delivery. I'm crazy about him, and yeah. And then Jill Scott is like she for
Mm.
me. She's it. Ah, she's
Philly from
it,
Philly.
man.
Yes.
Jilly from Philly is it. My youngest son Tyler is on the spectrum, the autism spectrum, and the her live performance here from DC of the
Okay.
song "The Way" is his favorite song.
Really?
And oh my gosh. So we're always looking for something to share in common with Tyler. And that is our thing. We were playing it on the way home today. And he
Good.
sings the chorus, Kirsten, like he's on stage with
I
her.
know that's right.
It's so funny. But yeah, Jilly from Philly, she
That's
does it
his
for me, man.
song. Sing
Yeah,
Tyler.
that's right. That's right. That's right. And for whatever reason, EWF has always been a staple for me from
Okay.
listening to my parents
People who
play.
don't know, he's saying Earth,
Oh,
Wind,
I'm
and Fire.
sorry. Earth, yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Earth,
You know,
Wind, and
you got
Fire.
some
Yes,
younger people who don't know who your Earth,
yes.
Wind, and Fire is.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. They're one of my favorite bands for sure.
Nice.
Absolutely, yes. So those three are always in my playlist in some way, shape, or form.
I love it. I love it.
Yes,
All right,
absolutely.
we're sadly coming to what I
No,
know. This has
no.
been so much fun for me. Listen, I filled up today, um, and I'm probably going to watch this one back a couple times because I got to write some things down
Well,
and get and take some
yeah,
of this advice.
I look when you initially asked me, I was like, "Why in the world would Kirsten want to bring me on and interview me?" But you
Why
know me,
wouldn't I
I've got that whole thing that I'm still trying to work out from way back in the early
let
2000s.
that
But
go?
I am so thankful to you because this has been
Oh,
wonderful. This has been wonderful. And please let me know when and where I can rewatch it because I'm sure I'm going to learn something about myself when I get an opportunity to do
you're
so.
going to be so amazed with yourself. You're going to be like, "Who's that? Na
I
na na
love it.
na na na
I
na
love
na
it.
na."
I
Okay.
love it.
But before we get out of here, what's the best piece of career advice you never took or that you took later in your career?
Um, the best piece that I took later in my career is know your worth. I've
I love it.
spent so many years in government trying not to ruffle any feathers,
Mm,
rock any boats, just going along with status quo because that's what a good employee does.
yeah.
And then you turn 50 and it's like, man, forget this. I don't believe in that. This is how I feel,
Okay.
and I'm going to articulate it. And, it's panned out for me because I've recently gotten a promotion and I am in a position now where I have dreamed about being, but never spoke up about it. What does
Ah,
it say? The closed mouth never gets
oh, get
fed.
said. Yeah.
That's right. So, just speak on what they say, stand on business.
Stand on
Stand on
business.
business. That stand on business and
Yes.
never sell yourself short. So
Okay.
as a parent, I'm trying to articulate that to mine. So the only way that I can do that is by believing it myself. So that's where I am now.
Well, congratulations on your promotion and
Thank
for
you, my
speaking
dear.
up for yourself and for knowing your worth.
Absolutely. I
Uh,
appreciate that.
so you mentioned it, but it's so amazing. I gotta ask you to say it again. Shout out
Okay.
upcoming projects, uh, Tuesday events, initiatives
Yes.
that we should be on the
Yes.
lookout for, and then where folks
Yes.
can go to follow you and book a event, book a portrait, book some photography.
Absolutely. Okay, so on Tuesday I will be shooting Nikki Giovanni, the wonderful author, at a local DC high school that I can't speak about just
No,
yet.
no, no. Don't tell people
Um,
the name because
that's
they'll
right.
be
That's right.
showing up. No, no, no,
That's
no,
right.
no, no.
No, no, no. Absolutely. And I can be followed on. And see, I'm an older guy, so I don't know if these are like big anymore. But on Instagram, I'm Troy
Yeah.
J Stewart.
Okay.
On Facebook, I'm also Troy J Stewart. And then I have a website that's strictly
Scrolling
my
down here at the
photography.
bottom.
Oh, look at that! Ooh, look at you.
Yeah.
See, that's why I love you, man. You're wonderful. But
Troy
yes, Troy
Stewart
Stewart
photography.com.
Photography. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
And I am here for any photography for photographic needs
Yes.
that may be in the audience. And if I can't do what you need, I've got a bevy of photographic friends that I
Yeah.
can turn you on to because it's not always about me, it's about the client. And if I
I
can't
love
give you what you need, I can find someone who can
I
for
love
sure.
it. I love it.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
Troy, again, this has been a pleasure for me. Like this has been I don't think I stopped smiling the entire
You and me
time.
both.
Like
You and me
my
both.
I've been cheesy
Well,
here like a weirdo.
you're one of my favorite
Oh,
people anyway. So, although I thought you were crazy for asking me, I
I
couldn't
am
tell you no.
crazy. Period.
Well, yeah, yeah, yes, yes, you are.
In a
But a
good way.
good
In a
crazy.
good way. In a good
Absolutely,
way.
absolutely,
No, I always
absolutely.
see. I always see what people sometimes don't see in
Yes,
themselves. And
absolutely.
when we came up with this series, doing your thing while doing their thing. I was like, these are the people
That's
that
huge.
that we need to talk to,
That's
because it's not
huge.
always about, no disrespect. It's not always about the
Right.
Nikki Giovannis. It's not always
Right.
about um,
Right.
the Eric Robersons, the Jill Scotts, or
Yeah.
even the Rashawn Pattersons. Sometimes it's
Right.
about the Troy J. Stewarts and the Demetria
Oh man.
Stewarts and the
Oh
Tyler
man.
Stewarts.
Oh
And
man.
I forgot the other son's name.
Dylan. Dylan.
Dylan.
Dylan.
Oh, I'm
Dylan.
sorry,
That's
baby.
right.
I'm sorry,
That's right.
Dylan.
No, he's good. Look, trust and believe. He's getting enough attention. He's getting enough attention right now.
Out to
That
Jack
he.
and
Oh
Jill. He get a lot
oh
of.
my God.
I
Oh
love
my
it.
goodness.
That's a
This
conversation
dude.
for offline. So yeah, we're
Absolutely.
not gonna embarrass. We're not gonna embarrass you, Dylan.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
thank you so much. I'm gonna ask you to stick around after the end, because we gotta talk
Absolutely.
about things backstage. But everybody, again, please do check out Troy J. Stewart Photography. The website is troystewartphotography.com, or go to Instagram, Troy J. Stewart, type it in. Go to Facebook. You still on there. We know you are.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
not that old. Troy J. Stewart, to check him out. And then, like I said, we're gonna be on the lookout for those fire Nikki Giovanni pictures.
I
And we
can't
will
wait.
see you next time on another edition of Trap Chat, Black History Month, doing their
Yes.
thing while doing your thing. Thanks, everyone.